Oh, I think firstly we've seen growth in the first kind of 2 weeks. Viewership, crowd attendance, the atmosphere, cricket has been good. So I think that was really exciting. Unfortunately, you can't always predict these things, and when these unseasonal type of fronts come through certain parts of South Africa, it's a challenge. Especially when you've got a game a day and you're moving around the country. But I think right now we've just got to stay positive. There's a lot of cricket still left to be played. Already halfway really in the season, and the tension and the atmosphere. And I can just feel in the amount of people that are sort of talking, wanting to come to games. Even 1 or 2 rained-up games, watching how the crowds haven't left, it shows you that the product, I think, is really stepped up another level this year. So, our job is to stay positive and we keep going and pushing for a strong finish to the season.
Graeme, as a league commissioner, what kind of markers do you generally look to evaluate success when the league goes on? Do you look at viewership, or how do you evaluate when the league is still going on? That we are in the safe zone, everything is going well. What are the important markers which you, as an administrator, are really focused on?
I don't know if I like the word administrator, but obviously we're always following metrics. I think for us, ticketing, is a big one. So we've seen a big increase in ticketing. I think we've 4 more sold-out games already than we were at the same point last year. Over 27 or 28% increase in ticketing in the first half of the season. Viewership is up in India, viewership is up here. Digital growth is up. So, and I think the other metrics that's important for me is always got to be the cricket. So, I think the pitches have been slightly better on a consistent level than they were last year. We've seen closer games, super overs, hundreds, hat tricks. Number of last over finishes. So I think. For me, I think the quality of cricket has been excellent this year. I'm hoping that over the next 2 weeks we'll really see, some really that stay the same or even get better.
Graeme, you have been asked a lot about adding more teams to the league, right? Now that the season has come into its 4th edition, this league has come into its 4th edition. What's your take? Does it require, adding more teams, or 6 are enough as of now?
I don't know if it requires it. I think the decision's got to be that it's got to add value. Outside IPL, we've seen other leagues get bigger and struggle, over longer periods. We also work very closely with Cricket South Africa on the future tours programs. And through the year, how seriously he's taking this, and he wants to do well. He's a competitive man. Obviously with the Capitals franchise, he has a big influential role now coaching. So. He's put himself in the hot seat. So I hope the rest of the season goes well for him. It's been a huge asset to have people like him, Sangakkara, Fleming, come out here, for our players and also for the status of the league.
You talked about fans. T20 have really worked on their marketing and outreach strategies to tap into the wider audience. We even saw some Indian influencers this time. So could you talk about some of the innovative initiatives you took this time?
Well, firstly in South Africa, we wanted to grow the audience. South Africa's got a 60 million, people in the country, and we wanted to really be able to attract more people to the game of cricket. So I think a lot of our marketing and strategy is around bringing people into the stadiums and then have a great time, start to fall in love with cricket and go from there. We're seeing a lot of people come to cricket for the first time in our stadiums, and that's fantastic. Audience-wise, it's always important to focus on key cricket markets. I think for a league that's trying to develop and grow, we've got a very strong Indian broadcast relation with 6 franchises from India. South African cricket's always had a great relation with the Indian fan. So it's natural for us to, we're spending money and, working with the support of you guys and influencers and people that hopefully will fall in love with South African cricket again. That's exciting for us. And then, the UK and so on, all key cricketing markets are important to us. And then, hopefully we'll start attracting new audiences with the Olympics and everything else coming in our future. So,
keeping the game clean has always been that biggest discussion. When there's a league involved, you have 6 franchises, multiple players, multiple fringe elements, notorious elements loitering around. As a league commissioner, do you see that as a challenge going forward? The rampant rise of T20 leagues around the world, and how do you intend to kind of ensure that SA20 remains clean, remains neat, because it takes one bad element to kind of rot the entire league?
Yeah, I mean, you also can't control everything. I think but we do invest a lot of money in making sure that our anti-corruption units are strong, working with the ICC, best practice. We've had a very strong anti-corruption team here. We educate players on everything. From we've seen a strong influence in sort of the drug-free sport. We've seen anti-corruption. So we do all the educational stuff pre-tournaments. Constantly follow up on it. Make sure there's a good policing unit around. And you're right, it is a risk to your league. So that's why we spend a lot of money making sure that we're doing everything we can to protect the integrity of the game.
Ramesh, you mentioned WPL earlier. Even India started as an exhibition match, 2-3 matches for 4 years before WPL eventually started. South African men's team has been immensely successful for the last 3 years. Do you see on the horizon where an exhibition match or 2-3 matches where a women's SA20 started something?
I do. I really do. I think I've said over the last few years, Cricket South Africa started a domestic women's program. I think it was 2 years ago. We've invested in the schools and trying to grow the depth of the women's game. I think how it starts, I'm not sure yet. I think that'll be a bit. The Cricket South Africa CEO has come out and said that it's time now. So I think post this tournament, we will all sit down and figure out what that step looks like. But absolutely, it will be one of the major discussions post season 4.
Last 2 questions, Akash.
Graeme, back in November when you were in India for the media day, you said you want to see the test team win in India, and they just thrashed us, right? Going into the World Cup, what would you like to say the Proteas team?
Obviously, I'd like us to beat India in the final. But that was brilliant. We know it's not a tough place to go and tour. I was really surprised that how dominant we were in the Test series. That really surprised me. But it was brilliant. I mean, the Test side over the last year and a half has really been the beacon of light. From a national team perspective, it's been brilliant. Temba, Shukri, done wonders. Hopefully, it continues. And I think in the white ball format, there's so much talent now. I think if Shukri and the team can get their combinations right, I think there's real opportunity that the team can do very well, because there's power, there's good bowling skill, and I think there's enough quality of ability to play spin there as well in that middle order, particularly in India. So let's hope that there'll be a good World Cup around the corner.
Final question.
You think India are the best place to defend the title with the World Cup happening in India and maybe your first semi-finals pick?
Listen, with India's talent, you can never write them off. It's a home World Cup. It does seem an interesting transition phase in Indian cricket, between Gautam and senior players, and who's next and how that transition happened. It seems to be in an interesting place. So it's going to be good to watch how things go. But certainly from a talent perspective, India, if they're not in the last 4 at least, I'll be very surprised.